Hi, this is Alex with Maple Leaf Coffee Roasters in Roselle. I'm here today to talk about our April 2025 Club Coffee, a cool wash process coffee from Panama. Check it out. So just as a reminder, the Coffee Club program is something that we do here at Maple Leaf to bring in a members-only coffee every month, roasted 3 different ways, offer our club members a chance to choose which of the 3 different roast types they'd like to receive as part of their membership. And we also send out a bunch of extra notes and details about the coffee in addition to these YouTube videos for everyone to watch. One thing we just need to make sure that folks know, the only way to get access to this coffee is to become a member of the Coffee Club. Coffee Club is a paid program, and we do have vacancies every once in a while as people drop off or come back on. So if this is something that you're interested in or a coffee that you'd like to give a shot, you have to let us know that you'd like to join the club, and hopefully we'll have a space open for you if you're interested in joining. So Panamanian coffees are something that we actually have in the club, probably at least once, maybe sometimes twice a year. These are not super common coffees for me to carry on our regular rotating lineup because they're just a little bit harder to get. Sometimes they just don't have quite the flavor profile that I'm looking to offer to the general public. Often in the past with the Panamanian coffees, we have done something in the club program where we brought in the same coffee for multiple months in a row, but either with a different strain like a Catawai or a Typica strain, or done something with the same coffee, a different processing method like a natural versus a washed. And this is a coffee that we've actually had before, both in a different processing method and also from a sister farm within Panama. So this is something that we've seen year after year, and we always try to do something a little bit different with this coffee every time that we do bring it in to kind of shake it up and give it a chance to try something new. So this month with the Panamanian coffee, it's a wash process. Panamanian coffees are generally very similar in some ways to coffees from El Salvador. They borrow a little bit of the flavor profile from Guatemala or Colombia. They're on the sweeter side, a little bit floral and citrusy. But some of the elements that they have in common with a coffee from El Salvador is that they can be a little bit richer, kind of like a graham cracker, chocolate, brown sugar sort of spin to it. And this is one that definitely has some of those flavor profiles embedded in it. And we also try to take an approach with the coffee this month to give it a very gentle roast. So sometimes with roasting, what you can do is you can roast a coffee very quickly to try to highlight the acidity or a sharpness in it. Or you can roast the coffee kind of slower to try to develop a little bit more of the flavors and the tastes to introduce a level of complexity to the taste that you might not have, especially in a washed coffee. Washed coffees generally will be a bit more consistent in their flavor profile. There won't be a lot of variation or complexity in the coffee, but by going through a slower roast with this coffee, we were able to do something that is kind of highlighting some of that complexity that's just inherent in most coffees themselves. And this is one that I'm actually interested to see if people really pick up on that different approach that I took this month to roasting this coffee. So we have our normal light, medium, and dark roast this month. Starting off with the light roast, this is probably the one roast that I didn't enjoy compared to the other two as much. It has a kind of a sweet, richer, that brown sugar note in it in the smell and the aroma that I said is kind of characteristic of the Panamanian coffees. A tiny bit of like a lemony, citrusy note in some of the scents of the coffee itself. But the brewed coffee form here was kind of the closest to a sort of vegetal, earthy, sort of green kind of flavor out of each 3. And this could be for a variety of reasons, but the color and the tone of this coffee was really hard to judge. And you'll see it in some of the pictures that we have up next to the video as I talk through the different roasts. It really did move a little bit faster than I anticipated in the roast profile. And that kind of mild acidity, sharpness, kind of vegetal flavor is really quite prominent in this light roast. I just found myself not enjoying it nearly as much as the medium and the dark. There's a level of complexity to this light roast that I think is interesting. So if you're somebody that really wants to be on that edge of a coffee that's almost a little bit too light in terms of the flavor and the profile, this might be something that you find interesting. But I think this is probably one to avoid the light roast this month just because it does have the most underdeveloped compared with the other 2 roast levels of the taste. As far as the medium roast goes, this is where I found a really nice balance between some of those lighter, brighter flavors that we normally see in a light roast coffee with that kind of level of complexity that is characteristic of a slower roast profile. Kind of a milk chocolate nutty hint to this coffee, similar to what you might see out of a coffee from Peru. Also kind of a malty texture as well. And this is a flavor that we saw a little bit more prominently in the dark roast this month on the Panamanian side. But it has a cool kind of fermented cola, almost like a fizzy texture to it on the medium roast that was interesting. And that kind of lemony, tart, citrusy tone to this one is still quite prominent even in that medium roast profile. So if you want to give kind of something that has that light roast sensibility a shot this month, but you want something that kind of strikes that balance between a little bit of weight, but also kind of that underdeveloped but kind of curious, earthy, green, veggie kind of feel to it, the medium roast is a pretty good choice too. Compared to the light roast, I think this is definitely the winner. And it has that nice level of complexity that you get the balance and the softness that you normally expect out of a medium roast profile with some of the more interesting, exotic, lighter roast feels. And the color difference between these two is really quite subtle. It's not super strong of a difference in terms of the color and the weight and the profile, but the medium roast does kind of edge it, kind of take some of the edges off that were there in light roast as well. As far as the dark roast this month, I think this is where I really found the most compelling flavors and scents out of this coffee. If you are normally a dark roast person or a person that avoids dark roast because you don't like the heavier, richer, thicker texture that a dark roast generally introduces, this is going to be a really nice change of pace. There's a surprising depth of flavor and complexity for a dark roast. Generally speaking, when you roast a coffee dark, what you're emphasizing is the way it was roasted rather than the coffee's flavors itself, which isn't a good or a bad thing. It's just the way that dark roasts generally work. This month, because of that slower roast profile that we took on this and not taking it super dark, you do get a kind of malty, heavier texture out of this coffee that you normally expect from a dark roast, but you get a sweet, chocolate, creamy, kind of a little bit of a melon tint to this as well. So there's a tiny bit of a fruity texture to this one with a kind of dry finish that you normally anticipate out of some dark roasts, especially Central Americans. Tiny bit of an earthiness to it as well. So the kind of veggie green flavors that we saw in the light and medium are still there, but they're kind of a cool background noise that doesn't really overtake the rest of the overall finish of the flavor itself. And that kind of like melon fruitiness that's sort of light and sweet is really quite easy to pick up here. So I think this dark roast this month is really my favorite for those reasons. It's a nice kind of weightier feel without being too heavy. You still get some of that cool depth of flavor that you would normally expect out of a lighter medium, and you get something that has a little bit of a thicker, richer flavor with a cool, dry finish. So once you take that and you swallow it, it's not lingering with you for too long, but it's kind of ready to take on the next sip. So of all the three I said, like I said this month, definitely the dark roast is my choice personally. And if you're normally a medium roast drinker and you want to try something a little bit heavier, a little bit richer, give the dark roast a shot this month, and I think you'll be in really good shape. So I hope you guys check us out next month for another great Club Coffee video, and have a chance to subscribe to our channel to make sure that you get all the new videos that we're putting out for both new coffees and our Club Coffees as well. Until next time, take care.